Buenos dias, top of the morning, shalom. It's Pac-Man Lawden with another morning scroll. As I stated, this is another one of the pilots that I'm trying out for Content King TV, along with Pac Reacts and the Decapitation Station. So, what is the morning scroll? Well, I noticed that when I get up in the morning and I go through my feed, whether it's on YouTube, TikTok usually be kind of light. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, especially YouTube, I be waking up to all type of crazy news and stories and madness in the world. And I don't know if people really have a complete understanding on what all this stuff is, why it is, and can put a proper perspective to things, right? And I think I kind of got a good grasp. I don't know everything, but I know a little bit about everything. I know a little bit about everything, but I don't know everything about nothing. So I'm just gonna give my take on something. I think I have some insight to give, and I follow the Most High. I'm gonna tell you what God loves at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the journey that I'm on. But y'all already know what's been going on in pop culture, right? But I don't think y'all really know what y'all are seeing, right? For example, here's why I say that. Let's just take our man. Let's just take our man, Cat Williams, for example. When he did that Shannon Sharp interview, he said what this was really all about. But because he said so much other stuff, I don't know if people really took from it what he was saying and what they were supposed to, right? Because when I spoke to people in the aftermath of the interview, they seemed to be more concerned with who and identify certain individuals as opposed to identifying what it is, why it's relevant, how it correlates directly to their life. Because a lot of people seem to think that what them celebrities do is their business and then they don't got nothing to do with us. Pobre si. Au contraire, mon frère. What he said was, they are a cabal, a consortium, and they mess with who they mess with and they don't who they don't. Why is that significant? Here's why. Lakeisha, you don't see me? Hold on, I'm going to just go ahead and send it to you. Excuse me for one second, y'all. I'm sending this out to a friend of mine who wants to catch the broadcast. As y'all can see, this is a new channel. Well, I've had it for a minute, but I don't really post on it much. I'm still trying to find time to dedicate to it and see which direction I'm going to go in the most with it. Which one of these, the Morning Scroll, Decapitation Station, uh, the one show where I make beats and stuff, which one is going to take off the fastest and consume the most of my efforts. So these usually get watched on Facebook after I post them. I share the links on Facebook and then people go crazy on them. So let's see. There you go. Okay, let's get to it. How you doing? Thanks for joining. My lone motherfucking Ranger. I got one Lone Ranger. Damn. But anyway, just pay attention from now to a few months from now how this shit go crazy. I still got shit to study on how to even grow your podcast, but the main problem is just this. This shit take dedication. You can't half-ass do nothing. If you're gonna be a podcaster and you want to be successful, then you got to really, really, really put the time and effort into it. My thing is, I don't know if I want it more than it wants me. I got a lot of shit to share, and when I do it, I'm really just talking to my people and just sharing knowledge and stuff with them that I think will help them navigate this planet a little bit better and protect their spirit, right? But because there's a platform for it, it's become a career, it's being monetized and stuff like that. People are encouraging me to do podcasts, right? But I wasn't in space for that yet, so I'm trying to find time and make a space for it because I think that it could work and a lot of positive could come out of it, right? So let's get to it. No further ado, right? Biden Harris playing in our faces. This lady right here, Crimson Cure, let me give y'all a disclaimer, Kendra Jones. I've been following her for about 3 or 4 years now. She is a Muslim. I am not. She is an author. She does relationship advice and stuff like that. But more or less, she's an author, right? And she wrote a book called Reclaiming the Black Feminine. And she mostly makes most of her content for women. But I'm going to give y'all my position on this political stuff after we watch this and see what they talking about and see if it's even worth our time on Morning Scroll. There's going to be a lot of shit up here that don't need to be.
The only way to fight stigma and shame is to shine light on it.
Ask your healthcare provider if Biktarvy is right for you, and visit Biktarvy.com to view the important facts, including important warnings.
I'm between Freebird and Skull Shaver. Which is the better deal? Here are 3 reasons why Freebird is better than Skull Shaver. 1, cost saving. Skull Shaver's Pitbull Silver starts at $89 with no extras. Freebird's Flex Series is only $39 with...
Because of the emergency situation it has presented to border communities and cities within the U.S. that have received high numbers of immigrants. Data on FEMA's website show that Congress funded more than $1 billion in fiscal years 2023 and 2024 to reimburse nonprofits and state and city governments that pay for the shelter and the food to help immigrants released by Border Patrol. Is it me? Am I bugging? Am I tripping out?
I didn't catch all of that, right? Because, we caught it mid-live in the middle of her stream. But what I think she's doing is exposing the U.S. government's part in this spike in immigration and migrant. See, they try to make it seem as if they don't want these people over here. This is the whole premise, that they don't want these people over here. They're trying to stop it and get control of it, right? Like Trump was talking about throwing up a wall. And I don't know if her premise is that they're fighting against that, and the more he tries to stop them from coming in, the more they let them, or if it's all a hoax and they all letting them in anyway. But that's pretty much what this is about. How on the outside looking in, we got to control this, but really they're facilitating.
Tell me if I'm tweaking or not. But didn't they just say no? The funding that FEMA had didn't have nothing to do with the funding that was used to address the border towns and the southern border and the shelter and services program, right? But just a few more sentences. It says on FEMA's website, it shows that Congress funded more than $1 billion in fiscal years 2023 and 2024 to reimburse nonprofits and state and city governments that pay for shelter and food to help immigrants released by the Border Patrol. Am I having reading comprehension problems, or is everybody else seeing the same thing? I'm saying, is it contradicting? Is this not a contradiction of what you just said? You just said it had nothing to do with it. You said FEMA had nothing to do with the funds that was spent on the immigrants. That is not why the FEMA's coffers are low. It has nothing to do with that. Without telling us why are they low then? FEMA's shelter and services program is funded by Congress, and DHS could not have filled the fund with money from another FEMA program, according to DHS. See,
That's why she say they playing in our face, right? We don't even have to narrow it down to Biden and Kamala, right? We don't have to just narrow it down to them. Are we talking about the same FEMA from the Hurricane Katrina catastrophe? What type of credibility do they have? Right? Most shit that start off with federal at the beginning of their name, the acronym FEMA, federal, is on some bullshit, right? And we know that certain marginalized groups are not really their main concern, right? Not really their main concern. And if you've been following and doing any research, and you'll shortly come to see, and I'm going to point you to things that reveal this. It's a reason why they're letting all of these immigrants in, right? And they're here to serve a purpose, right? And in a nutshell, it's going to not be to the benefit of people who look like me, right? So, yeah, let us continue, because we pretty much got the gist of what this is all about. I don't believe shit FEMA say, right? Because the best lies have a little bit of truth mixed up in them, right? So just because you might see them do or say some shit that look like it's positive, don't be fooled. If the devil came completely sideways, he wouldn't trick nobody. Even a broke clock is right twice a day. Let go.
in 2023, the DHS and FEMA announced $363 million to FEMA's shelter and service program. In 2024, FEMA put $650 million towards the SSP. Do I have to finish?
No,
Okay.
no, fuck thing. On to the next one. On to the next one. Hollywood sacrifice. Sean Diddy Combs covered by feds. Eddie Griffin talks Diddy's 120 cases. Horse tranquilizer. Oh, look, Eddie. This is Eddie Griffin's channel, so this ain't nobody doing a story covering Eddie Griffin. This is directly from the horse's mouth.
Welcome to another installment of NNN, where we give it to you straight, no chaser. I'm sorry we took we took 1 week off because my filming crew, they had to go on vacation. You know, I ain't no slave driver here at NNN. You know, our people get vacations and things. So, you know, we ain't like CNN, MSNBC, and just slave the mother around the clock 24 hours a goddamn day. How much news is there in a day? 24 hours. None. That's why you keep recycling the same old shit. But here at NNN, we keep them straight, no chasing, and we keep them fresh. Now, Diddy, we'll get to that later, because there's other shit going on.
I didn't even know my nigga had this show. Oh boy, I'm gonna be tuning in. Let me go ahead and do him his give him his just due right now. What y'all need to do, take a second, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share. I'm gonna share. Yeah, this is what we do. I don't even know what it's about, and I'm sharing just because I support Eddie Griffin. I've been watching him for long enough to know how he coming pretty much, and if he comes sideways, then I'm gonna point it out. That's what the morning scroll is for. Going
on because while we was still smoking mirrors every time, Diddy was a grand distraction. Because while Diddy was the main focus on the news, meanwhile, at the United Nations and the World Economic Forum, 129 countries plus have signed up for a one world government. The Bible's playing out before our goddamn eyes, y'all. And we already know who's gonna head that. Yeah, yeah. His son, the beast, and all that shit. See, be on the lookout.
There's a big secret being hidden from drivers, so listen up before this video gets removed. If you're being insured by any of these companies, you're being...
that way. Okay. Let's put a little bit of context to this before we even start. What are we going to do tonight, Brain? Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the motherfucking world. They be telling on themselves. I don't know what percentage of the cartoons that I used to watch when I was little had that same underlying premise, but I know it was a lot of them. Oh, the villain always wanted to create a weapon or some type of big missile that was going to blow the world up, a nuke, or they wanted to create a machine that was going to take over everybody's minds so they would listen to them, MK Ultra, or they wanted to rule the world, all to rule the world for the purpose of rule the world. They want to take over the world. Okay, where have we seen this before, right? Remember a guy by the name of Alexander? They refer to him as Alexander the Great. He was a Greek. I don't have any good thing to say about Greeks, right? But I'm not really sure what all the rules are as far as how to get flagged and what you can and can't say on YouTube. I know that there's some bullshit. Yeah, YouTube, I'm calling y'all out on that. I'm gonna do that. It's some bullshit though, right? Because you can say Nigger with the hard but you can't say F. You can't say that. You can't say it. You know what I'm saying? Now, which word you think got more pain attached to it? More blood attached to it. So, y'all agenda driven. Y'all got an agenda. You know what I'm saying? Y'all trying to indoctrinate people in a certain way, YouTube. And if you think a nigga like me ain't gonna point it out, then you're not really thinking. Okay, but anyway. So, let's talk about this one world government. We saw with Alexander the Great, Alexander the Greek, Alexander the Barbarian. He is known to have conquered what had been discovered, the entire world, faster than anybody else. Oh, anybody else? You mean to tell me more than one person did it? Tried to? Okay. Yeah, he did it by 35 years old. And he was so bloodthirsty and loved war so much, because, you know, back then, the king or whoever was usually the general of the army. And a lot of cases, that's how they became the king, by fighting valiantly and winning wars and leading men to victory, right? And then people would lift them up to be their king for their service, right? Well, I don't know exactly how he got to become king. I just know he was a killer and he loved it. And when he ran out of people to kill and had accomplished his goal, seemingly, of conquering the whole world, there wasn't enough of this barbarian. And they said that he actually wept and cried and was mad on a rampage because there were no more lands to conquer. Mission accomplished, bitch. So was it really all about conquering? See, y'all got to go read the Iceman theories. I think that's the book, the Iceman Syndrome, Iceman. It's something about how living in during the Ice Age in those mountains up there where they come from, how it created a dog-eat-dog mentality and allowed them to be the way that they are, because every time they got ready to eat, they had to kill something. There's no vegetation. First of all, if you eat meat enough, it makes you more carnal. The more blood you consume. We was told when we were given permission to eat meat that we were supposed to kosher it and not consume the blood of the animal, because the spirit of the animal is in the blood, right? But the blood is what makes it taste good. That's what makes it taste sweet. And there's particular groups of people who the Greeks descend from, who like their blood. They need bloody, right? Because that's how they used to eating it. They wasn't cooking that stuff like we cook it now up there in that climate, outside with them little campfires or whatever they was doing to warm their food up, if they wasn't eating completely raw sometimes. I don't know, I wasn't there, but I know that this book makes great sense of it, because there was not always enough to go around. So they were very standoffish and aggressive towards each other, right? And when a lot of them starved to death, and when they did, to stay alive, a lot of times they were consumed, right? So the whole mentality of living that type of environment for however long they did, I don't remember exactly when it was that Esau was exiled from Israel, and him and his people fled to the Caucasus Mountains, but or how long they was up there. I would have to go back to that story. It could be found out, like, what year BC or whatever that happened. However, it was long enough so that you see it in their offspring even now today, because the apple, after all, doesn't fall that far from the tree. The next guy to try to take over the world was Napoleon, and he damn near did it until he took his happy ass up into Russia, and they wasn't ready for that cold, and they wasn't ready, and they get off more than they could chew. You know what I'm saying? But we've seen that consistently throughout history, where nations have tried to conquer the known world. Why? Well, George Bush finally came out and said it in 1991 with his epic speech, where he said we are under a new world order. He said it, new world order, right? And what is that? One world government. It's too hard to control or take over the world with all of these different leaders. Too many chiefs and too many chiefs and too many Indians. That's why they want to depopulate the world by 95%, because it's easier to control smaller groups of people, right? But if they can create one world government, and each nation be like a state instead of like their own country, and then the whole world be like one nation, then whoever is the executive branch or the president or the king or whatever that nation pretty much controls the whole world. That's always been their goal, right? Last I heard, 7 countries have signed up for it, but it's been a couple of years. Now it's up to 129, right? Now it's up to 129.
How is it that the same media that acts outraged about Hurricane Katrina is completely downplaying Hurricane Helene? Or that our government that just sent $95 billion to Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan can only find hundreds of dollars for the people of North Carolina? And yes, gaslighting media, we know that's just one program, and that there are other forms that people could fill out for other programs, and even more forms for temporary housing. And how long will it take those forms to go through your bureaucracy? Do you think the people whose houses were here have time for forms? Or that $17 million for North Carolina is nearly enough? You just gave Raytheon $217 million to make missiles, to add to the $8 trillion you spent on foreign wars. And this should be a uniting event that brings together our country.
Yeah, this man-made hurricane that is destroying and killing Americans by its own government, y'all. The government is not your friend, so I don't know what you thinking. Vote for Kamala. She's a puppet, y'all. Has zero experience. Nobody respects her on the world stage. You're crazy. Think they're gonna be in charge? You know who's gonna be in charge? The government that just put a hurricane and killed American citizens. And now the Fed's saying there's no money left to respond to hurricanes. But there's plenty of money to send weapons and bombs and more money over to fucking Ukraine and Taiwan and everywhere goddamn else. All you federal motherfuckers. Charity starts at home. Now where the fuck is our money? It ain't y'all money to be handing out no goddamn way. It's the American taxpayers' goddamn money, you sons of bitches. They using HAARP and the radio waves to cause this shit. But they want the land over there in North Carolina. Come to find out that that's the world's largest lithium deposit. So that's why FEMA has come in and said we're taking over because they're going to confiscate the land and call the land unfit for living. You heard it here first. It's coming shortly. They're going to confiscate the land, and then they're going to start mining lithium. In case you don't know what lithium is, it's the shit that's in these batteries on every thing on goddamn Earth. It's what they've been having them kids over there in Africa dying in them goddamn pits, digging out the goddamn dirt. So this is the play. This is what Helene is about. Helene, yeah, they gonna lean on that property, goddammit. And somebody posted about FEMA. FEMA done came in and stealing supplies. Now this, it's funny because in America we only come together when there's a motherfucking disaster. Every time there's something wrong, we come together like butt cheeks and come to shit quick, faster than a hurry. Ain't no demon crowd, ain't no reptilicans, niggas, just Americans. And America's been sending in motherfucking aid to help their fellow Americans out.
Demon craft, reptilians, we'll get back to that. That should sound familiar.
Out by the droves.
Let's go ahead and head on to the bathroom and see if simpler is really simpler and see if simpler can get rid of all this white.
Pause. Did you catch that? They sent how much to the Ukraine and Taiwan and Israel? Why? Because like I've been saying, Americans who've been propping up Israel all along since 1947, 1948, when they went over there and took their land from the Palestinians, aka the Philistines, as they was referred to in the Bible, who've been there all a motherfucking long. Even when the children of Israel, the real children of Israel, the real Jews was there, the Philistines was there. So if I was there, I would feel some type of way about all of the children of Israel leaving black in 70 AD during the second sacking of Jerusalem and coming back white. President Gamal Abdel Nasser, he was the president of Egypt at one point, and he was also the president of the United Arab Emirates, where Dubai is. Said on NBC, on television, it might have been ABC, CBS, all of them, whatever, they all broadcasted it in 1952 that we must not, there would never be at peace with the people in Israel. Right? Because they left black and they came back white. He said they are nothing more than Hebrew-speaking Gentiles. They are not of the 12 tribes of Israel. They are not the people of this land. Those people were exiled. And they don't belong here. That's what he said. I'm not lying. So YouTube, if y'all hear this and want to have a problem with it, like I'm saying it, all I'm doing is reporting something that I saw. I didn't make that shit up. I know y'all don't like it. I wouldn't either, because all this shit is falling apart. The 400 years is up. It ended in like 2019, 2020, the Great Awakening, and now all of these nations that the Bible says have been confederate against the children of Israel, and they took our position as the heads of the world. That's why the Jays, the Ish people are the richest people in the world. That's why they're in the Holy Land, that where everything that in the Bible took place, because they have taken on the identity of these people, taking their riches, taking their position as the leaders of the world. Right? So Israel's about to be destroyed, just like the prophets predicted. It is, I hate to even mention the Bible or quote it without bringing up the scriptures and giving y'all chapter, verse, scripture, but your assignment is to go find it. It says that a statement, those who claim to be Jews and they are not, right? But are the synagogue of Satan. Now, what's a synagogue? That's what they call the churches in Judaism, in Israel, in the Jewish culture, right? The churches are called, the temples are called synagogues. Well, it says those who are claiming to be Jews and are not, but are synagogues of Satan. Well, we know that so-called African Americans traditionally had not been claiming to be Jews until as of late, until the awakening started to take place. Now you see this conversation everywhere you go. You see the brothers preaching on the corner. You know what I'm saying? What are they talking about? Hebrew Israelites and stuff. People don't even listen to them because they think they're aggressive and they don't like them, and women especially don't like them. They get mad at them. But if anybody ever just sit back and listen to what they're saying, I don't always care for the way they present either. That's why I refuse to join one of them camps. But I don't see nobody making more sense to them. Not even the Nation of Islam, no disrespect, or the Black Muslim groups. They don't want to see them in debates. I've already watched them hours and hours and hours where they got the Quran, they got the Torah, they got the Dead Sea Scrolls, they got the Hebrew Bible, they got the Ethiopian Bible, they got all of these different texts and they're comparing them. The King James 1611, the New International Version, the ESV, the Eastern Standard Version. The work is being done. The Apocrypha. Ooh, that's the word you're supposed to say, Apocrypha. Those is the books that niggas keep on saying is lost, right? You know, the Bible, they say we don't got the whole Bible anyway, and the Bible was changed and the lost books and the hidden books, and so it ain't no way to know what the truth is anyway, because they took out the book. We got them. We've been had them. That's an excuse. Only people who say that is people who ain't done the work. You think the Most High gonna completely remove all truth from the world where there ain't no way of finding it and there ain't no way of knowing, so you can come up with the convenient excuse that was a long time ago, you wasn't there, can't nobody say what really happened. You can't say that and then say you believe in God, because that means you believe that evil is going to prevail in the end of everything, and that the devil is more powerful than the Most High. If you believe that, exit stage left. We're not even going to entertain that shit, so we know that Israel's going to be destroyed because of prophecy. They know it because they know the truth, even though they try to hide it, right? And that's already in the 1611 King James anyway. That's the real one, the 1611 King James. Now, you can sit up and doubt it and try to say whatever you want about King James, but unless you did over 20 years of research to find the truth, you probably don't know what you're talking about. And when you do go do it, you're going to come back and say, damn, Pac-Man, so King James really was black. And the Bible really is black history. And black people really did write the Bible and really did translate the Bible. See, that same one that you're saying that they wrote and they changed and they gave us in slavery to control us with religion, that same one has things in there that your pastor never showed you and that you haven't read that let you know nobody that wasn't this color wrote it, because they say things that they would never say. And it also says in there that certain groups are the enemies of the children of Israel. But in the church, you'll never hear that. You'll hear that you're supposed to love everybody and that God loves everybody, right? But it says in there that there are certain groups that the Most High hates, and that there are certain people who are enemies of the children of God. People, not just demons, people right here on earth. But we're supposed to love everybody and get along with everybody. Now, it doesn't mean that we're supposed to be violent towards them or do anything. We got to let him fight this battle and handle this. He got it under control, how it's going to play out. All we got to do is go learn the history, watch what's going on in the present, and apply it to that, and then you'll be able to see what's going to happen in the future through prophecy. So, since they come from the Ukraine, how? Because when Esau was exiled from Israel, after kicking up all of that dust and wanting to kill his brother Jacob, who changed his name to Israel, because it wasn't even known as Israel back then. But when he was exiled from the Holy Land, the land of milk and honey in Canaan, where they were, Northeast Africa, which is the biblical name for Africa, Canaan. When the Israelites, the 12 tribes, established their kingdom in Canaan, he was a rebel rouser. He got exiled. They went to an area once known as Khazaria, a country once known as Khazaria, in a region known as Georgia. I don't know if Georgia used to actually be the name of a nation, but it's on the border of Russia and Germany, right there on the border, right where they come together. And that is the location of the Caucasus Mountains. Esau, being an albino, the first albino, see, they come from us. That's where he went and took his people when he was exiled. Now, he was a so-called black man. He was a Hebrew. He was not an Israelite. His brother is Jacob, who is Israel. So Jacob wasn't even an Israelite. Jacob's kids and his offspring were the Israelites. They were what their grandfather Abraham and their daddy Isaac was. Both of the twin boys, Jacob and Esau, they were both Hebrews. Previously, before that, known as the Ibri people, which eventually evolved into Hebrew, which means people from the other side. Because remember, Abraham migrated from Mesopotamia over near the center of the world, where the Fertile Crescent is the most fertile land in the world. That's what was called the Garden of Eden in the Bible, because it's the most fertile land in the world, right there in the so-called Middle East, where all those mineral deposits are, where the Tigris and Euphrates River meet, modern day Iraq. That's where Abraham was from, right? That's where he was from. So his son Isaac had the twin boys, Esau and Jacob. Esau gets sent away, goes to up there, evolves into what he evolved into with his people. And then they came back and settled down near Mount Seir in the modern day, what is known today as Jordan, in a country that they call Edom, named after Esau, whose name also became Edom, which means red. And the Edomites lived there adjacent to Israel, just south of them, where Jordan is now. And they came back down with a vengeance for being sent away. And they vowed to be the sworn enemies of Jacob even until the end of the world. And I have books that people write where they say that in the books. This ain't no stuff I'm just making up. All right. Yo, what's up, fam? So this ain't no stuff that I can make up. I can point y'all to a book called let's see. See, they charge anywhere between $500 and $2,200 for these books, right? Because they don't want us to be able to get them. And then the ones that aren't for sale, they're in libraries that we don't have access to, like the Library at Cambridge, the Library at Oxford, the U.S. Library of Congress, and places like this, right? But when they put them in certain stores and stuff, you think the prophets of the Most High ain't gonna go dig the research and find the dudes who's so serious about finding truth. They went and learned ancient Paleo Block Hebrew, not this modern day Yiddish Hebrew, just so they could interpret the scriptures themselves. Oh, they translated. Oh, they translated it for you. Go get the original Hebrew text, learn the language, and then you translate it. That's what type of time the brothers on. I'm learning it little by little, but check it out. This book right here, remember this title, A Brief Account of the Opinions, Traditions, Rites, and Ceremonies of the Jays in Modern Times. Now, I don't say Jays, but sometimes when you say that word and you come at them, you can find yourself in a heap of mess, like a Kyrie Irving. By John Allen, right? This is the second edition, published by R.B. Seeley and Burnside and W. Burnside, and sold by L.B. Seeley and Sons, Fleet Street, London. This book was published, this edition in 1831 in London. So this is international, right? And let me read from this book real quick. Because see, that brothers take pictures of it, screenshot it, and then send it to the rest of us, right? I know y'all can't read that, but that's when, man, that's so much, that like so crazy. There's no way for me to even show y'all. But anyway, people who want it, I can send it to them, right? It says first that the descendants of Esau, the sworn enemies of Jacob, the sworn enemies of the descendants of Jacob, even until the end of time, end of the world. Okay. Sworn enemies, even until the end of the world. But they running around promoting that we live in a post-racial society. But in their writings that they write to themselves, they say we sworn enemies until the end of the world. And that's for people who can't wrap their mind around why they do the things that they do to us, and why even the people who are supposed to be here to protect and serve us, that they take a little bit out of our check to provide the salary for, and the guns they shoot us with, and the cars they patrol us with, and all that. Even those people are killing us, because what we don't understand is they talk to each other in code. It's not in code, but yeah, they all here. fuck what they say. They all know what it is. The sworn enemies of the descendants of Jacob, even until the end of the world. They were first a small nation inhabiting Mount Seir and adjacent country contiguous to the land of Canaan. Now, they'll tell you, hold on, that they were easily confined within their own limits. They was easily confined within their own limits. They couldn't spread out. They couldn't grow. They was easily confined, right? As long as the Israelites enjoyed a great and formidable empire in Canaan. So as long as the Israelites was powerful, they was easily confined. You know what it's saying now, right? We ruled. Okay. Now, here's the most important part. It says the Israelites' empire was in Canaan. Canaan is the ancient name for Africa, but they'll tell you that Israel is in the Middle East, that is not in Africa. They even made a canal, a Suez Canal, to separate it from the rest of the continent, right? And the Middle East is just a facade. Where's the Middle West? Where's the Middle North? Where's the Middle South? The Asia Minor, Asiatic people. Where's the Europe Minor? Do every continent got a minor? Is it Asia or is it not Asia? The Asia Minor, is it an extension of Asia? No, that was all Northeast Africa. See, the earth sits on 7 plates, the tectonic plates that shift and cause them earthquakes and the volcanoes and the tsunamis and stuff like that. When they move, okay, boom, it's 7 of them. Israel sits on the African tectonic plate. And if the people who hit me in the comments or who know me on my other platforms and stuff, y'all can hit me up in my inbox if y'all want these videos and these to cite this stuff that I'm talking about, where y'all can go find these sources. There's a brother who moved to Africa from the United States to Israel, who actually goes to one of the monuments where it says that it's a monument in Africa that's built and that's big, and it's saying in Israel, saying that this is in Africa and that it's sitting on the African tectonic plate. It's inscribed in the monument. Like, he went and showed that and broke it down. So they playing in our face and lying to us on TV when they say Israel is in the Middle East, right? But they had to do that so that when you read the Bible and the scriptures and you read about the holy people, you would think that they were something other than Africa or something other than this, right? So it would be easy if you believe, oh no, they wasn't black or white. They was Middle Eastern. They was more of an olive colored people. What the fuck is olive colored, nigga? I eat black olives and I've seen them nasty ass green olives before, but I ain't never seen nobody the same color as one of them. I never seen a black man before. I'm one of the darkest niggas I know. I'm not black. This is black. If you seen somebody this color, what would you do? Shoot it or run? One or the other. Never seen a white person before. You see somebody this color, that probably ain't a person. The scriptures describe Esau as red. I've even heard people who don't practice good racial ethics call them pink. I won't do that right now because I don't have a problem with the people. I have a problem with the spirit that's controlling them and manipulating and deceiving them. Because, see, all of them are not bad people. You can be friends with them. You can befriend them. You can know. You just can't follow their customs and their way of life. We were never meant to serve their God, eat what they eat, dress like they dress, have sex, and reproduce with them. We were given strict instructions not to do that. And it says right here that they admitting in their book that Israel is in Canaan, which is Africa. They know that, but they don't put that out in the not no real media. You're not gonna see that. All right, okay. But after the powerful republic of the 12 tribes was destroyed by the Assyrians and the Babylonians, remember that name Babylon, and remember Assyria too. We're going to come back to that. That's very relevant. They wonderfully increased in numbers and strength, meaning the Edomites. After the 12 tribes were destroyed by the Assyrians and the Babylonians, they wonderfully increased in number and strength. Remember, it said they was easily confined as long as The 12 tribes destroyed a powerful and formidable empire. But after they were weakened, then they gained strength. They extended their dominion towards the west, which will be the rest of Europe, going towards the west, Spain, and all of those. They're expanding their dominion towards the west, spread their colonies far and wide, subjugated Italy, founded Rome and the Roman Empire. So Italians are Edomites. They're the descendants of Esau, according to their writings. According to their writings. According to this book, their book, The Brief Account of the Opinions, Traditions, Rites, and Ceremonies of the Jews in Modern Time by John Allen. He says in that book that they're the Romans. Founded Rome and the Roman Empire, at length entirely overturned the Jewish state, which had been restored after the first temple was destroyed. It says that they entirely overturned the Jewish state. The Edomites did. Well, we do remember that during the time of Yahweh Shai, who the world foolishly refers to as Jesus Christ, we do remember who had colonized Israel. It was the Romans. They were answering to Rome. That's who had the Most High arrested and crucified him. Now they'll tell you that the Jews did it, that his own people crucified him. Why? Right? So that you believe when they say that the Israelites lost their place and they're not God's chosen people no more. Right? That God forsake them, right? But that wasn't the people who were already there. The bloodline descendants of the 12 tribes. That was those Edomites, aka later become known as Idumeans, who came in and overturned the Jewish state, created Judaism, wrote the Talmud, their own little version of the Bible, and colonized Israel, the same way they colonized all these indigenous places, these places with these people of color. They created Judaism. Those are the Jewish people who came and took over, who are right now in their land now today, right? And because they have been there and then they got ran out, they want you to believe that they've been there since the ancient times, since antiquity, that they were the people who were there all along. No, we know that story. We know how they came about, right? Try to take over the world. So, Israel is going to be destroyed, like the Most High says in Scripture. And they want to go back home to try to avoid that. Where is home? Right where the Ukraine sits today. Remember, it used to be called the United Soviet Socialist Republic, the USSR. Then in 1991, they split, right? And there was Russia and I believe Ukraine. I want to say Prussia. I need to go do a little bit more research. But that's when the Ukraine came about. Those are Russians. Those are their country then. They just fought and got their independence, right? So the people that are in Israel right now are the Khazars from the Russian steppes. The Ashkenazis. Remember, that's where Russia and Germany met. They got borders, but that's the same race of people. So what do you think the German term Nazi comes from? Ashkenazi. 95% of the Jews in the world today are Ashkenazi. At least 90% identify as the Ashkenazi Jews. So they're telling you where they're from, right? Well, Esau was from down there. So I guess I don't know how they correlate that to make them think they got some kind of claim or right to the land, but it's really all about who's going to check us. We got the biggest gun. We got the United States of America, who propped them up to be able to do that, right? And that's why they're still giving them money today. And that's why they're giving money to the Ukraine today. And that's why Putin and is warring with the Ukraine to try to stop them from coming back home when that's destroyed. That's the same war, the war in Israel and Palestine and the war in the Ukraine and Russia. It's all about the same thing. It's all about the same thing. Israel's going to be destroyed. They came and took that land. They They subjugated the Palestinians. How long do they think they're going to sit back and kill Palestinians before the rest of the people of their nation, which are the children of Ishmael, the Ishmaelites, aka Arabs, finally get involved? You think just because they from a different so-called country that don't recognize that that's their race, that that's their people, they all Muslim? So how long before y'all surrounded by all of them? Like it says in the Bible, they will be encompassed by their enemies, right? That's where they messed up. And scripture also said that Iran would strike them next after the conflict with Palestine started. It identified the tribe that would be next to strike before all of them jumped in on, right? It identified that tribe. That tribe is 90% found right now today in modern day Iran, even though in the scripture it said the tribe by name. It didn't say Iran or Iranians. It said a tribe. Well, if you go look at who ended up attacking them second or getting involved after Palestine, it's Iran. And what you find in Iran is those people, that tribe. Scripture playing out right in front of our face, right in front of our eyes. Right? So that's why the United States is giving all their money to those two, because they part of that whole agenda.
Some people got some nutsacks, and they grabbing them. And I'm talking about the port workers. Yeah. You know, where the shippings come in from the docks. See what I'm saying? Yeah, they going on strike as well they should, because these greedy man's corporate motherfucking CEOs running away with $100 million parachutes, and then ain't gonna pay your employees nothing but $20 a goddamn hour, and they the reason that your motherfucking company is making money, you silly ass sons of bitches. Pay a motherfucker for their work. Fair wages. Fair. Check it out.
Possible strike by tens of thousands of port workers up and down the East Coast.
Unless there's a last-minute deal, the union representing those workers says they will walk off the job at midnight.
And the move would shut down ports in our area, but the impact also stretches down the Gulf Coast.
Just a week of such a strike would cost the economy nearly $4 billion and increase the price of products we buy every day.
Yeah, it could cost $5 billion. Ain't you sending that much to Ukraine every goddamn day? Fuck you and your goddamn money, you greedy sons of bitches. Keep striking. And everybody else go on strike. Let's just, everybody in the world, let's go on a world strike and shut these mother.
Hey, look. Good point. I was concerned for that union boss though, because he was on TV holding his nuts, flexing. Hey, when he started talking about they lost $4 billion over in Europe or something because of his men not working, basically showing how much they can affect things and reminding them, we can affect your bottom line. That probably rests with some feathers. You know what I'm saying?
Elitist, goddamn reptilian motherfucking unhuman sons of bitches with no motherfucking heart, no compassion. Fuck them all. Let's all go on strike. In and in. We going off there. I'm on strike. Yeah, I'm out. Yeah, I'm back. My strike ended. My pages went up. I'd like to thank my employees. That's you to subscribe in public. And don't forget to hit subscribe and that like button. That's right. Hit.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans may qualify for help from National Debt Relief. Minimum payments.
Subscribe.
Do y'all know how much that strike could have really affected, and how much it did, and how bad it would have been for us had it been prolonged and going on for a long time? How were people going to get some of the goods they needed? How long before stores start running out of stuff and it caused panic? You know what I mean? Stuff like that could potentially cause the conflict that sets the nation, that sets everything off. This whole conflict that's about to play out, there's so much stuff going on, volatile shit around the world at one time. Any of these things could be the trigger that set off a final conflict domestically, right? On top of all these nukes being pointed at us, and the scripture saying that the United States is going to be destroyed by nuclear bombs, nuclear showers. That's what the Bible said.
shine that light. And if you want some Radiant content, you must go to Radiant for the real in and in the way it's supposed to be seen. Also in the news is Diddler, P. Diddy, Love, Brother Love. This is one sick individual because according to the attorneys that have over 109 plaintiffs, this motherfucker was putting horse tranquilizers in the fruit punch he was giving to the children. I mean, one is about 9 years old. I mean, this motherfucker is a demonic mother. The A-listers in Hollywood are they all very quiet. I'd like to hear from some of them. Little babies going to sleep off that horse tranquilizer, waking up with their asses sore, being taken to the hospital, finding out they got horse tranquilizers in their bloodstream. Kidnapping homeless people, giving them horse tranquilizers. They wake up 3 days later, ass sore. Can't go to the Diddy's house. You're gonna wake up with your ass sore. Now, everybody that's been to Diddy's house, I know your ass is sore. That's why you're quiet. Your ass is sore.
Remember that executive from No Limit Records came out from years ago and said that? Search that in YouTube. No Limit exec tells the truth about the industry, parties and industry. He said the same thing. You'll smoke on some shit, they'll give you some shit, you'll pass out, won't know what the hell happened. Wake up your ass sore in a mansion, butt naked. They're gonna be like, show them the tape, show them what you did last night. If they show you. Now, they got something they can hold over your head if you're a straight man. You trapped. Or if you're a woman, you're gonna be sold out.
So asses. That's why you needed all that baby oil. So asses. Let's take out a moment of silence for some dead and dying asses. The Diddler did it again. This is funny how art imitates life. Y'all seen that movie called Blink Twice? Where this motherfucking billionaire has this island and he picks motherfuckers up, throw them on his private jet. They think they going to party and he be giving them food, drinks, and it's got some kind of poison in them. And they get raped and all this shit. And then he give them this perfume they put on and they forget it. And it goes on.
Because the devil got to tell on themselves. They got to tell on themselves. These demonic spirits and entities that empower these people have no authority in the earth realm but what's given to them by people. Man, other gods on earth. The Israelites, the Hebrew people, the people from the other side, the descendants of Seth, are the gods on earth, right? Spirits don't have any authority, or that's why they can't present themselves, materialize in the flesh, and come and physically do something to you. They have to do it through a person as a host to give them ability to even exist in this world, right? But one of the rules that they have to operate by, they have to tell you. They can't even do nothing in secret in this world. The people who are doing it, they have to tell you. So they tell you in movies, in songs, in TV. And then they sensationalize it and make it look like it's just entertainment or like it's just a fairy tale. It's so far-fetched that it can't really be done. It's just entertainment. But this movie was telling you what they do. It's not just the diddler. This is commonplace. Remember I said Babylon? I said, remember that name, Babylon? Go see what they did in Babylon. And then see what they're doing now.
On the next day. They've been over there for a year, but they think they've been there for 2 days. That's the difference. Y'all probably thought y'all went to Diddy's party for one night. Check the tapes. Your ass might have been getting thrashed for a week. So asses! Them Shans, don't name your child Sean. Criminalistic name. God damn, them Shans, they be up to some shit.
Wow.
Kallion Harris.
Kallion Harris.
Kallion Harris. Kallion Harris. Look at it.
Before we get into that, I want to let y'all know there is a video Go on YouTube and search Diddy Freak Off Victim Speaks Out. And put in child party favors. Child party favors. And you're going to find a story of a girl who's been talking out forever, who says she was trafficked by the Riverside, California. Oh, I don't know if it's California. She said Riverside Child Protective Services. And the foster care people, they put her into trafficking, and that she was she has charges, and she's not trying to sue. She don't want no money. She said she don't want no money. And this girl been talking all along, but it's been getting suppressed because this goes all the way up. People in the judicial system are involved in it, right? And the only reason that Diddler is in trouble is because he pissed them off, not because he did it. He been doing it. They've been doing it. They was doing it with him. The reason why he's in the trouble that he's in now is because he fucked up and he pissed them people off. He broke the oath. He broke the code. Okay? She been talking out, been speaking out, and she don't want no money. And she didn't. She has issued a statement accusing Birdman, Young Jock, Denzel Washington Jr., and Diddy. She names Tyra Banks and Steve Harvey as people who was at the party. And she said one of the comedians from the Kings of Comedy took her that night with another man. But we'll get into that video one day. And I might even get it. We'll go find it. And if we come back to it and we end up coming to it, then we do. But for right now, yeah, just want to let y'all know about that. But in Babylon, there was nothing for them to have a child. Their God was a cow. Oh, and she said they made them have sex with beasts. Their God was represented by a cow with a man's body and a cow's head with both sex organs. So they're mixing. They're showing that they're talking about mixing different seeds, animals with man, and same sex and sexual encounters by having both organs. Go study Babylon. That's all I gotta say.
This woman want to play black so bad, she went and erased her grandmama and replaced her grandmama.
As you can see there, it says that she died in July of 1960. And so this is a huge scandal. Grandma Beryl died in 1960, 4 years before Kamala Harris was born.
Her real grandmama is of Irish descent. With that, you fight for smoking. She's got a lucky charm. And her fake grandmama is this black woman who died 4 years before she was born. But in her book, she got a picture standing next to this dead woman with a smile on her face. I wonder how that happened. The technology they got nowadays, boy, they can digitize anybody into any goddamn picture. You seen it on the advertising, you pull it back in, take them out of the picture, place it, and put somebody else in. You could have.
What they don't know is that woman could have, even if she was, let's just say hypothetically that was her grandmother, which is not, but let's just say that it was, that wouldn't make her black anyway, or so-called black. Because see, we was just talking about that there ain't no such thing as black people, but those are terms we use because for the sake of conversation, right? Or else we're gonna be sidebarring every damn thing we say. Okay, so-called black people, even if she was, because your pedigree is according established to the house of your father. That's what the Most High said. That's what we always followed in our culture. But we following somebody else's culture right now. We living in Rome, doing as the Romans do. So we've taken on their ideology, but whatever your father is, she is not an Israelite. She's not one of us. She's not black. Just like Bob Marley was not an Israelite. His father was a Brit. His father was British. He's an Edomite, right? And his mother is an Israelite, right? Genetics do not determine your pedigree. Yeah, he has the genes of his mother too. That's why he's dark with knotty hair. But he has the DNA. He is a replica of his father, who the seed comes from. Whatever the seed is, that's what the plant the offspring is going to be. Bob Marley is not not an Israelite. And that goes to show you it's not about black or white or really even what the color is. It's about who you descend from. Because the Israelites are all the colors of boxwood. Drake's son is an Israelite, and he looks white, blonde with blue eyes. But his dad is an Israelite, and his dad is an Israelite. Don't matter that his mother's white.
Picture with Michael Jackson, Muhammad Ali, Bruce Lee, all in their prime, and tell them it just happened yesterday. That's what Kamala did. Kalina ass Harris. As I said, she's a lying spanking bitch. How you gonna vote for a lying spanking bitch? Her grandmama is probably still alive, and she's Irish, and you gonna deny your real grandmama being showing up at your inauguration if you happen to get elected, which ain't gonna happen. Everybody talk to you, don't like it. Ain't nobody gonna vote for you. Here's your choices, America. The liar or the crook. I think I might be going with the crook, goddamn. Yeah, the crook. He's got a lot of.
Going with him for
three
what?
baby mamas, 43 felony cases and counting. Selling high top tennis shoes, just like Michael Jordan.
You just called them reptilians. You just said all type of stuff, right? But you gonna pick a side. Why even entertain that monkey show?
Got shot just like Tupac. The motherfucker gonna drop an album next. We'll be right back.
Trump gonna drop a mixtape.
I mean, it's really getting sick under these Democrat administration. That's what we call them, Democrats. Yeah. You know, they're the ones passing these sick ass laws that have to do with your children. They're allowing children to come to school and say they want to change their sex as young as 9 years old. They can't drive until they're 16.
Insurance companies don't want you to know this. Drivers, if your insurance rates keep going,
they can't join the military until they're 18. They can't have a drink until they're 21. But
here's why. Here's why. I thought I had this saved to my playlist. Save to playlist. Here's why.
This is a wonderful opportunity for some information to be given out. There are some wonderful people going to speak with you this afternoon. I would just like to preface this with saying
Former FBI Ted Gunderson and former CIA sex slave Bryce Taylor exposed that. Yeah, that way.
this is an afternoon of information. It's an opportunity for us to have a time to take a look at how we think and how we feel about certain issues going on
Y'all can hear it.
in
I'm
our
gonna be
country or
sure.
possibly going on in our personal life.
Y'all can hear this. So while y'all listen for a second, I'm going to be sharing it to a few people who are told that I would send it to. Ooh, I just see something pop up down here that say Biggie last words alive, leaked online, real audio. Okay, we finna see, right? But I'm gonna go to that next because this is still the morning scroll, even though it's damn near afternoon, and all I'm doing is scrolling through my feed, finding stuff that's worth talking about. This is a sidebar though, because it's relevant to what we just saw in that other story.
Why? I would just like to say it's not an afternoon of debate. It is an afternoon of information. It is very, very touchy in some places. There is an opportunity for us to learn something, to see something, and maybe to discover something. So actually what I'm asking is that we have an opportunity this afternoon to keep an open mind, have an open thinking about the possibilities of what is happening in the world and in this country. And there will be an opportunity for you to question both Ted and Bryce at the end. Today we will have a Q&A. So I'd basically like to suggest is that as they are talking, if you have questions, if things come up in your mind, write them down so that we'll have the opportunity to answer those questions and deal with them during the Q&A. Also, any of you that might possibly have cell phones, turn them off, please. Any of you that may have pagers, please turn those off, or at least put them on vibrate so you can enjoy the call. Okay. The bathrooms, I know we're going to take breaks this afternoon. So the bathrooms are at the end of the hall down here. Have that on your mind. Please, no cameras. Anybody have a camera? Please, no cameras and no recording equipment. We're taking care of all of that. And just so that you will know, we are shooting from the back of the room and from the side. You will not be seen. If anyone has any considerations about that, we will not, just take that out of your mind. Consideration, they're going to be more about the people that are talking up here. Even when you're doing the question, you have questions and that sort of thing, don't worry about it. We're not going to be videotaping, okay?
I'm going to move along a little bit because we don't got no 2 hours for this. Ted Gunderson. He is the former FBI agent.
Come back and Bryce Taylor will be talking with you. Then we will have another break and we will have Q&A because we understand that, the backside can only take so much as the brain is trying to assimilate things. So with no further ado,
This is
Ted Gunderson.
This is a different video from the one that I had. I had one where she was talking and Ted was talking, and I'm hoping that they cover the same stuff.
Thank you very much, Paul. I've been retired from the FBI for 20 years, a little over 20 years. And it was quite by accident I became involved in these issues. When I talk about these issues, I'm talking about a vast number of topics. And these issues involve the very highest level of the government, the very highest level of the top industrial and businessmen in the world. And it took me some 17 years before I realized I was able to document some of the topics that will be discussed here today, topics that I'll talk about and also topics that Bryce will talk about. Anyway, I retired from the FBI in 1979. At the time, I had over 700 personnel under my command, 22 million.
Oh, he was the head of the Los Angeles FBI office. He was the top dog. Over 700 men under his command.
$1 million budget. I was one of the top executives in the organization. And shortly after my retirement, I opened a private investigative firm, among other things, consulting and so forth. And one of my clients was the friend of Dr. Jeffrey R. MacDonald. Dr. MacDonald is a former Green Beret doctor who was convicted of murdering his wife and 2 children in Fort Bragg, February 17, 1970. This was in 1979, 9 years later. He had just been convicted and was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. I visited Dr. MacDonald. He said, "I'm innocent." I said, "Doctor, if you're innocent, I'll work the case from now until we're able to get you free. You still serve your 3 consecutive life sentences, and I'm still working the case." Within 10 months of obtaining the case, I talked to the girl in the floppy hat who was standing on the corner. Those of you who are aware of the story Fatal Vision, movie, book, best-selling book. Micah, the MP, en route to the scene at 4:30 in the morning, saw this girl, floppy hat. I talked to her, obtained a confession from her October 25, 1980. Girl's name was Helena Stokely. Helena told me Dr. McDonald did not commit these murders. They were committed by her satanic cult group, and it was her initiation into the cult that night. They left Dr. McDonald for dead. And in one of her statements, in another statement, she said that they left him alive so he could suffer, having lost his family and knowing full well that he'd be framed. So there always, in these cases, there's always going to be some conflict. But basically, I went public with the information, and on national TV, national radio, people absolutely came out of the woodwork from all over the country and said, hey, I know all about the satanic movement in the country today. I'm trying to get out. I'm multi-generation. And it goes on and on and on. I couldn't believe it because people from Washington were telling us.
He said, I'm trying to get out. I'm multi-generation.
Same story as individuals from Florida and New England, California, the Southwest, the Middle West, and so forth. That was the beginning of my education. Now, why did they go after the McDonald family? This cult was involved in distributing drugs up and down the East Coast. At that time, they were bringing drugs in plastic bodies in the body cavities of the dead GIs coming out of Southeast Asia. They, the CIA and the Army. The biggest drug dealer in the world, by far, is the CIA. And I'm going to tell you some other information and furnish some other information, as is Bryce today, about how dirty this organization is. They're involved in international kidnapping and trafficking of children. They're involved in MK Ultra mind control program. And it goes on and on and on. And we will document this information right here in this auditorium. So, I'm still working the case. We've had several hearings, appeals, lost them all. In entering the case, I noticed evidence is lost, stolen, destroyed, altered. One of the unusual incidents here, actually a series of three, there were 3 satanic signs left at the crime scene. Number one, there was unexplained feathers. There was a headless doll, and the little 2.5-year-old child in shallow ice pick wounds, 10 of them in her chest. S was on her chest. I asked Alina what that stand for. She said it stood for Satan. Well, what is this all about? That was just the beginning of my education. Then, shortly thereafter, I was asked to work a case in Nebraska with John DeCamp. And in the Nebraska case, I flew out there, worked for free, by the way. I make it a habit of this, but so what? Anyway, I'm helping somebody. And John asked me if I would become involved in it, and I did. The previous investigator had died in a plane crash. It was very obvious. He was murdered. He was in Chicago gathering up some evidence. He called one of John's associates, a state senator, Lauren Schmidt, said, Lauren, I have the smoking gun. I have the evidence that will, without any question, convict these people. And I'll tell you more about the case in a minute. Got on a plane that night. Plane lasted about an hour and a half out of Chicago and blew up and fell to the ground. He and his little 8-year-old son were killed. Gary Caradori. I'd like to someday go back to Lincoln, put a statue in the town square for that man. He developed a lot of information. He's a brave man. Former Nebraska Highway Patrol. Anyway, from the Nebraska case,
they whacked him.
We learned that children.
How many collateral damage y'all think that was? Was he on a commercial flight? Because they'll get rid of innocent people to accomplish their goal.
Were being driven, taken out of orphanages, private homes, Boys Town, driven from Omaha, Nebraska to Sioux City, Iowa, a distance of 184 miles away, placed in private jets, flown to Washington, D.C. for sex orgy parties with Congress and senators. We learned that children 10, 11, 12 years old who were part of the network, called Manasi in particular, was used as a decoy in shopping malls, public places, playgrounds, schoolyards, and so forth, to attract other children of the same age over to that area. Then the adults would grab the kids, throw them in a car, and be off with them. Now, what were they doing with these kids when they're flying them to Washington, D.C.? They had a condominium. Larry King, he's not Larry King live television, but a black man who was a rising star in the Republican Party. He had a condominium, paid $5,000 a month. It was on Embassy Road. His salary was $17,000 a year. And these kids were being used for sex orgy parties with congressmen, senators, ambassadors, and what have you. It was basically to frame them. Another phase of the Nebraska case involved what I later learned to be MK Ultra mind control program. And Bryce will talk a lot more about it herself. And these kids, many of them, were being taken to Offutt Air Force Base, SAC headquarters there in Omaha, tortured, put through drug programs, hypnotized, and victimized as MK Ultra victims. The CIA mind control program, as I said. Who was involved? Chief of Police Bob Wadman, Harold Anderson, past publisher of the Omaha World Herald, society editor of the Omaha World Herald, prominent people, some of those prominent people in the community. What happened in the case? Cover up. There were 80 children initially came forward. Of the 84 who were able to talk and give statements, 2 later recanted under threats. And as I said, this involved, among other things, kidnapping, murder, satanic ceremonies, MK Ultra program. People have said, claimed that there's nothing to this MK Ultra program. It's difficult to believe. But I have some material which I'll be glad to share with you. This is an item that's available through my research. It's right out of the Library of Congress, obtained through the Freedom of Information, actual government memoranda as to the MK Ultra mind control program. This is an obituary of Sidney Gottlieb. And if you can read right there, he talks about being the founder of the MK Ultra mind control program. The next picture, Dr. Jolly West, psychiatrist. By the way, he died in January, and Sidney Gottlieb died in March, I believe. And he talks about, or this article talks about his involvement in drugs and cults and mind control programs. Anyway, this is an outgrowth of what I ran across. Put the next slide in. Just some of the documentation involved. This is an article out of the Washington Times. Top Japanese politician linked to Spence. Craig Spence was a CIA agent who was used to set these ambassadors and public officials up. Next. Homosexual prostitution probed and snarled officials of Bush and Reagan administration. Washington Times also, June 29, 1989. By the way, Paul Benassi, who was one of the main witnesses, in the case, Paul Benassi has drawn the inside living quarters of the White House. Public's not allowed there. Another article, power broker served drugs, sex as party bug for blackmail. Go ahead. And I talked about missing children and about kidnapped children. This is an article from the Reader's Digest, July 1982. 100,000 children disappear every year in America. This is beginning of documentation that our government is involved in kidnapping children. I'm going to show you.
Okay, now we're getting down to the nitty gritty, right? This is why people aren't always able to come forward. Go to who? Who you gonna go tell? Because if they want to suppress, it's gonna be suppressed, and then you will be made to look like a fool.
Next, keep
or
going.
unalived.
Excerpts from a U.S. Customs report. This report is Department of the Treasury, and in February 1987, February 5th, as a matter of fact, two well-dressed men with children varying in age from 2 to 7, 6 of them, as I recall, were arrested in Tallahassee, Florida. From the arrest, the police traced the band up to Washington, D.C. to an organization known as the Finders. The U.S. Customs was notified, and this is the documentation from a U.S. Customs report. You can flip the page. To make a long story short, the Customs learned that the Metropolitan Police Department obtained search warrants, went in and found evidence of satanic ceremonies, found documentation children were being kidnapped off the streets and exported and flown around the world, London, Germany, to the Far East, and the Middle East. And this is, as I said, the report. Go back to that last page that you had on there. I want to read it to the audience. Turn it around and over. Okay. The customs agent went back to the Finder's address. And by the way, I've got the address in this report. This report is available. On April 2nd, 87, for a final evaluation of the situation. You've been talking to Detective Bradley. Bradley was not available on that occasion. So there was a third party. And here's what he was advised. That all of the passport data has been turned over to the State Department for their investigation. They found passports in the cards which indicated that the individuals at the Finders had traveled to North Korea and also to Russia, illegal at that time. The State Department in turn advised the Metropolitan Police Department that all travel and use of the passports by the holders of the passports was within the law. No action would be taken. As I say, this included travel to North Korea, North Vietnam in the late 50s and mid 1970s was illegal. The individual further advised me of circumstances which indicated that the investigation into the activities of Finders had become a CIA internal matter. The Metropolitan Police Department report had been classified secret and was not available for.
Let me go to Bryce. Let her, you can hear her talk.
This is an incredible opportunity for me to be here back in Pasadena, where my home was here in California. And I owe this privilege to Annie Bassia.
This looks like the 80s. When was this? It was shared 5 years ago, but I want to see if it's going to say when this press conference took place. Or this.
The owner of past locations, and she keeps telling me to stop thanking her, but I really can't stop thanking this woman because she has stepped forward and supported this whole issue in such an incredible, heartfelt way of taking care of the details and being there emotionally for not only myself, but all the people, all the other victims and survivors who have come forward and are joining now in a way that hasn't happened in a very long time. And so, Annie, I would just like to thank you. And
What do y'all think of this? In the comments, it says, Bryce warns that this mind entertainment is coming to all of us, 5G.
I'd also like to thank all of
Let me go into her story.
And she was smoking a cigarette. She was so nice. And all of the people that were connected with me as I ran and began writing, as Catherine Gould suggested years ago, that I began writing what happened so that as I became more public, I would be safer, and that certainly has been the case. So, safety, our safety all lies in telling the truth now. And my therapy groups, we're going to regret that you named it that name, and sometimes I am because it's kind of a big word and it's hard to say, but it has a really great meaning. Marching onward, and yet so are all of us who are smelling the smells, being able to hear what happened, and oftentimes I would have visuals and be able to actually see what happened, who was involved. And so what happened was that this programming that National Security Agency guaranteed that I would never be able to remember a tale failed. That's the good news. That's the really good news, because as we all tell, you all, and I'm starting to sound Southern now because I live in the South, but everybody is going to be able to know what they need to do to end and stop this. So it's actually in some ways a gift that all of us that have been through this are able to wake up and tell our very personal and private experiences.
Now remember, she was under hypnosis, drugs, or some type of induced mental state. So a lot of this stuff she didn't remember. They were trying to erase their minds, right? But the brain, God made the brain, not me. This is not the video that I initially found about her, where she actually telling in detail how it started, who were the players, who was involved, what they did to her. She may go into it later in this video, which is why I'm kind of skipping through it a little bit.
Utilize all of these and the foundation for what they're doing here today. And for you to understand how that has all happened, our government, actually the CIA, flew a lot of these doctors, the perpetrators, after the Nuremberg trials. Instead of being prosecuted, they were given immunization from prosecution. And our CIA actually flew these Nazi doctors to our country and gave them immunity and set them up with research grants and all sorts of mega funding in universities and military bases. They continue their, not only their...
Y'all still want to send y'all kids to the military, black people, so they could get money for school and all these benefits. And y'all always talk about the financial benefits of selling out, of following the devil.
Further research on the mind, but they also continued their expertise on programming people within the military, within NASA, people that are out of the private sector like myself, where I was certainly not part of the military or any intelligence group, but because of the intergenerational nature of the group of people that they needed the population to use, I believe that I was selected. And so we have now civilians being taken without their knowledge and awareness, not only to major universities, but also to military bases around the country and the world, where they are put under mind control with very sophisticated technology that I will get into more later. So, I'm sure you're asking, how did I wake up? How did I know about this? And
I think I'm gonna have to start going from Patreon. They ain't gonna allow me to continue this shit.
I began to wake up in 1985. Up until that time, I thought that I had an incredible family. I thought I had the best family in the world. Certainly, we had just about everything that I needed. And then when I married, I had a wonderful husband and beautiful children and anything money could buy. I lived in a beautiful neighborhood in Agora Hills, and which was located just a block from Bob Hope's ranch. We were strategically located, but during all this time, I thought I had a very perfect life, and I had no idea I'd ever been abused. And to let you know how it feels to be under mind control and hear about ritual abuse and mind control, I can share my experience where I was attending Pepperdine University working on my degree in psychology, and I attended an international psych conference where Kathleen Gould, who, as many of you know, is a therapist who's worked with ritual abuse, DID patients for a very long time. And I went to one of her lectures, and they sat in a room, and I was just puzzled with, why people would do this. Why would people be hurting their own children, and why would all the prominent people in the communities be involved, and what is all this for? And I remember walking out of the workshop thinking, I sure hope I don't get abused like that when I'm a therapist. And that was the end of it for about 3 years. I actually even joined the LA Women's Task Force and attended meetings under total mind control work. I didn't know, but I was reporting back to
Wow.
the good doctors, everything that I was learning what was happening. But anyway, so that's how it felt. I had no idea. And but in 1987, or 1985 actually, after a lot of prayer, I started praying real heavily because I knew something was wrong. I just couldn't kind of figure it out, but I did know something was wrong. So I kept praying for God to please help me and help me decide what was wrong and why I felt so unhappy, even though I had everything that money could buy, and everything that supposed to make people happy, beautiful kids, and like I told you, my family. And but the answer to that prayer came in the form of a kind of a massive wake-up call. My head went through the windshield of the automobile there on Chesborough Road in Agora Hills. And what happened was that accident really kind of took me out of my motherly role and all my duties that I had. And I really had to take time to recuperate. And I had a lot of massage therapy. And what began to emerge were memories of being sexually abused. And then came memories of ritual abuse. And at that time, I was in school at a college called RioCon, and I was working towards my master's degree to be a clinical psychologist. And I still had no idea really what this all meant, but all I knew was that my memories now began flooding in to the extent that it was either continue on with school and put my past behind me like everybody kept telling me, just, let the past go, just live in the present, or enter therapy full time. And so I entered what I now understand was the true master's program, which was a personal journey of believing and understanding and exploring my own inner space and really going within. I learned to meditate, not only doing yoga, but teaching yoga. And I was in therapy increasing amounts of time as I was having a really hard time dealing with what all this was. And as I would begin remembering, I would have my suicide programs would kick in, and I would call my therapist, both of them, endlessly telling them I had to kill myself. I wanted to jump out of buildings, hotels, jump out of the windows. And when the memories began really threatening and emerging even more, I would cut and burn my arms in an attempt that I would do what my programming was commanding. And it was an attempt, a very sophisticated attempt, to take my attention away from what was really coming up.
Okay. I need to find the other video for her because this ain't what it's telling, but it's not really telling the details that she gave before. What is this video? Now I'm seeing other videos as I can see pop up. I need to save this to watch later. Hold on. I need to look inside of my playlist because I think the other video has a similar thumbnail. The other video has, I'm looking for a specific video now. I'm not going to watch the one that's popped up. Eight unavailable videos are hidden. I bet that's one of them because it was in that folder. Proof. It was in there. I don't think that's a coincidence. Sons of bitches. Hold on. I'm gonna have to try this.
I got so frustrated.
That boy Steve Harvey on them tapes, you definitely don't want no advice from him. If he ain't on them tapes, then he dodged the bullet because he was at the party according to one of the victims. Like I said earlier, I told how you have to find that video. Look, Crazy Bone exposes how the powers that be stole. Think it was a coincidence what happened to Crazy Bone? Wow, where is here it is. Found it. Oh no, it's just the one I just added to do. This is the one I just added. It's the one we were just watching. Thinking it's the one that was already in.
Threatening and emerging even more.
It's the one we were just watching. It was in them other videos in that other folder, proof. The folder called proof for the 8 videos that was unavailable. That's where it's at. I ain't no damn fool. I know what I say. Yeah, I know what I say. She was telling her story in detail. She said, in a nutshell, she said that it all started with her pedophile father. I'm talking about this lady right here, Bryce Taylor, right?
Have my suicide program kicked in, and I would call a therapist.
She said it all started with her pedophile father, PDF father, who started messing with her when she was 3 years old. Then they continued at church. When you go find the video where she says it, you'll know how well I know it because it's almost verbatim what she said. She said, and what looked on the outside like choir practice, then they would be taken into a room and the door shuts and they go downstairs and basically was what became kiddie porn, where they were forced to perform sexual acts on each other. She said at 9 years old, her dad sold her in a child auction to Bob Hope. She said her dad sold her to Bob Hope. He took her to Vegas and would pimp her out to politicians, former presidents, entertainers, and other wealthy people and people within his circles or those circles. Frank Sinatra being her handler. Whenever Bob Hope wasn't present, he would leave her in Vegas with Frank Sinatra. She mentioned being with Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., JFK, Lyndon B. Johnson, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, and claimed that Ronald Reagan took her to the Queen of England, Elizabeth II. And while Ronald and England were in the room talking, she overheard them talk, the queen telling Ronald that he has to have a baby by her so that her baby can be part of the royal family. What is that implicating? That is implicating that Queen Elizabeth and Ronald Reagan are related. The royal family. Yeah. Right? Now, why Ronald if she had already been with all those other members of the royal family? What do you mean, Pac-Man? I just told you the names of the members of the royal family that she had already been with. So I already just showed the video with Ted Gunderson, or the same video. He went up before her, way back here, right? And Ted Gunderson is the FBI agent who rescued her and confirmed everything that she said. Now what I'm going to try to do briefly before I want to see if she goes into details about who she was with and what they did to her, because she does in the other video.
That this was intergenerational. This is how this works.
It's intergenerational. Just like Ted Gunderson said earlier in the video, he's talked to people from Washington, from Florida, from all over the place that have said, this is in my family. I'm 3-4 generations deep in Satan worship, and I want out.
So a lot of the projects that are now housed and are still ongoing are in the military, taken often like to where everyone thought it was choir practice and I would be excused from school.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We getting down to the nitty gritty.
And so I watched as I saw
the people who went off, they're going to wish they had stayed on to see this.
And I had kind of a broader spectrum of reality than all of you, although it has taken me time to kind of catch up on what the world thought was reality, because I wasn't allowed to really know what that was. And so anyway, that was some of my government use, and I'm going to also get into that more. But I also wanted to highlight the fact that as a child, I was also used in massive amounts of child pornography and prostitution, and that was
share this video.
In church basements where I attended.
Don't just share it on your feed in Facebook. Share it to the people who you care about in Messenger. Send it to them directly and tell them to watch it.
Those churches or
that's gonna,
people that were part of the inner circle.
That's going to help them understand what they see in the news today with the diddler. I'm making it all correlate. And if you go back and watch this video from the beginning, then you'll get it.
Of the satanic members of those churches, I was abused and then taken often like to where everyone thought I was in choir practice and I was excused from school and be taken to the choir director's home across the street, and we would all have our little choir robes on, be singing very angelically until the men arrived with the equipment. And all the equipment then was taken downstairs, and all of us children knew that that meant it was time to go down and be filmed in pornography.
Now, she just paraphrased what I said she said in the other video. However, you know what? She said choir practice. She didn't say it was at church. She said they would go to choir practice, and then once they were in the room, they would be taken downstairs. She did say that into the basement, where basically they would perform Kitty, P-O-R-N. And she just said it again in this video. And I knew at some point the video was coming. It just took to an hour and 37, an hour and something in before she got to it, as y'all can see here. There you go.
And those were also very traumatic events because a lot of what they were filming was not just sexual acts. It was a lot of satanic rituals. And so I can publicly testify that what these children are saying is reality. And I can also say that I was used even as a child on Ventura Boulevard near the Corbin Bowl. to coerce children that were my age into black sedans where the men had TVs and candy and all kinds of things that I was told to lure children into the cars, and they would happen to be shopping with their mom, walking along the boulevard there, and then I would say...
So they traumatizing these parents and taking them while they with their parents, sending people into hysteria.
Something like, would you like some candy? And there's a TV in the back of this car, you want to come and see it? And as soon as this child would approach the car, the men would throw them in the back seat and take off. And then often I witnessed as these children would be kept contained in cages until it was time for their death. And that death was often brought about by, through being filmed in pornography and then used in snuff films. And honestly, I can't imagine that we have this many sick and perverted.
Their death will come from being used. What are snuff films? What was the actual cause of death? So she's lucky to even be here to tell this story. She was watching them off these kids. Wow. They wasn't just taking them and using them, they were deleting them.
People in the world. But there must be quite a market for this because there are a lot of us that have reported being a part of it. And so that is where I believe many of the missing children are going to. So, what happened to me as I had these accidents in 1985, and then I had another one in 1987 on the same day, April 12th, 9:15 in the morning, both accidents, same day, same time.
Same time?
It kind of got my attention. There must be.
Same day is one thing. That's not a coincidence. Same time? Come on now. They're playing in our face, y'all.
Something really going on here. And a man in a sedan showed up at one of the accident sites, took pictures and fled off. I thought, it's something that's very strange here. But in those days, I had no idea what the bigger picture was, nor did the therapists that were attempting to help me figure out what was all going on. But I continued on in therapy, reintegrating many of the child personalities that I had that were programmed within me. And it was in 1991, it was April 10th, real close to the April 12th date again. And
now, if you go and see the video of the young black lady who claims to have been a victim and attended one of the Diddy parties, she says she suffers from multiple personalities too, which she calls alter egos or alters for short. It's a defense mechanism of the brain to escape the reality.
I left a therapy session with my therapist, and I went to get in my car, and I opened my wallet, and I looked inside, and there was a dollar bill that had programming numbers, and I had uncovered enough of my own programming to know that what this meant was it was another threat. Only this accident I didn't believe was to be an accident. I believed that they were threatening to kill me. And across this dollar bill was the date April 12th, and then it had a series of programming numbers that corresponded to different programs within me. So I was terrified, and I had attempted to explain to my husband a little bit about some of these satanic memories. And I found that when I would talk to him about it, that he would just become very angry. And so I learned not to talk to him about it. And I learned not to tell him about
Some husband, huh?
my plan that my therapist and I had come up with to get me out of California and onto the island of Kauai before April 12th. And so that day when I left my home there in Agora Hills, I had no idea that I would never be returning there to my children or my husband or the home and my family that I love.
I wonder if that's why he became angry, because he knew the implications behind all of it and that she was trapped. I don't know. But if you was planning on leaving him and not telling him, then you were being kind of disingenuous too. For considering what she was mixed up in, I don't know how much of her was actually there mentally. She did say that she was under mind control. I don't know. She began to come out of it, but how much so?
And once I got to the island, I didn't have any money because I had to leave everything. And so I began using the ocean as my therapist. And I had a person came to me and gave me a light and sound machine. And I was terrified of it because that was the very thing, some of the very things that had been used to program me. And I thought, oh my God, what is this? But this man very...
Also, in the video by the young black lady who claims to be a victim more recently at the Diddler parties, she says that when the door was closed to their room and the parties began with the child party favors, that the DJ start playing this music and that these flashing lights of different colors, right? See, they use frequency and light to hypnotize people and send them into a trance-like state. And that's what she said happened. She said that they went into a frenzy as if they almost couldn't even control themselves. Now, she said frenzy. I'm saying as if they almost couldn't control themselves because I know what a frenzy is. And there's another video that I watched with a scientist breaking down how they hypnotize people with music videos and with music, those certain frequencies coming from the audio and then the visual of these different light combinations. They use them in commercials to make you hungry and activate certain hormones and make you want to eat and go buy what you see. They use them on signs at fast food restaurants and stores and stuff, different colors to trigger certain things in your brain. This shit is deep. And once again, she just said satanic, and that young lady said, these are not freak offs. These are satanic rituals. This is in the 90s. She said in 1991 something happened, speaking past tense. So this had to be in the 90s, right? I don't think it was the 2000s based upon the camera and based upon how she looks, her hairstyle, and how she dresses and stuff. So, yeah. Let's go.
Who patiently sat with me while I re-experienced a memory on it and found that it was much less painful to recover memory of that. And so I sat endlessly recovering memories about governors of California, about Pete Wilson, and Reagan, and Hope, and Nixon, and Bebe Rebozo, and all the people that I name in my books, the Dodgers. And had I not had...
Now, on the other video, I mentioned that she said that Reagan, I didn't say Nixon. For some reason, I thought that Nixon wasn't one of them. And when I didn't see his name, my mind automatically went to Nixon was one of the ones who went against them. And that's the reason why he was outcast and made out to be a crook and hit with that scandal, because there's a video where he talked about attending that meeting that the presidents have every year at the Bohemian Grove up there in Northern California. And he said, quote, it was the most agony with an F at the beginning. He didn't say agony, he said goody thing he ever saw in his goddamn life, and how he refuses to shake anybody's hand from San Francisco, right? So that led me to believe that he wasn't going with the program and the agenda. That's why they had to get him up out of there. But I was wrong, because she is reiterating here on this video that Richard Nixon was one of the people that she was made to have relations with during the MK Ultra CIA mind control program.
Had the ability to document all of this, I would have thought it was crazy, because it didn't really make any sense until I was able later to really put together the larger picture.
Thanks, Don.
What this whole New World Order agenda was.
So speak the facts, brother. Thank you.
It started to make sense of why all of these people were involved. So anyway, Ted Gunderson and Kathleen Gould kept giving me security tips, and I was running from place to place, trying to stay alive and sleeping on the floors of people's homes that open their homes to me and continue to write at Starshine. And then later on, over the years, the further deprogramming that I did, memory.
I need to find her books. I want to see if she goes into it.
So it wasn't like some stupid little thing they were doing, although
Let me go back to a little bit before that.
Hope, as was Kelly.
Okay, here we go.
Quick recall with the encoded files that Henry Kissinger named the code names. I was a message courier imputed with specific words and programmed to deliver them to exactly as they were programmed into people all over the world. Total recall of conversation with people and then be able to report it back word by word, everything that was said, including sometimes when there was rooms full of people. Sexual expertise.
So they programmed her brain to remember things like a computer, verbatim, word for word.
Trained at training farms and by all kinds of prostitutes and Playboy bunnies and everything to be perfect sex, like Bob Hope, as was Kelly. And that sexual stuff is something that you can read about in my book. I talk about sexual encounters with all the presidents and world leaders, but for you to really understand that Henry Kissinger and others, they knew exactly what these sexual encounters were doing, that they were actually setting up a different brain function, and that once after sex, that when this information was then given to somebody, that then they would be receiving it in a different brain state and would carry more importance. So it wasn't like some stupid little thing they were doing, although I found that most men were very easy to sexually manipulate, and then often they were then through the coercion that happened to myself and others, if they weren't already involved in the New World Order agenda, they were after that. And especially if they were pedophiles and had sex with children, like George Bush.
Okay. Don wasn't watching when I showed the clip from Eddie Griffin's news podcast, where he mentioned the New World Order and the global plan that was just signed on by over 129 different countries who are in favor of having a one world government. This is all linked together, folks. This is all linked together. She's saying the same thing way back here in this whole video that Eddie Griffin just said on his podcast that I showed y'all about an hour ago. Pay attention. Make it make sense.
Had sex with my daughter Kelly at a very early age during the time he was vice president, when Reagan was, most men were very easy to sexually manipulate, and then often they were then through the coercion that happened through myself and others, if they weren't already involved in the agenda, they were after that, and especially if they were pedophiles and had sex with children, like George Bush, who had sex with my daughter Kelly at a very early age during the time he was vice president. When Reagan was president, was prostituted to him, and Kelly was prostituted to the vice president. And so whether these people are themselves under mind control or not, it needs to be exposed and stopped. And this is just horrific.
They may not be under that mind control program that the CIA has going on, but their mind is definitely being controlled by the spirit that's driving them, by the same spirits and demons that they worship, that they pray to. That's who's controlling their mind, even if it ain't hypnosis.
Okay. I was programmed, as was Kelly, as long distance swimming without tiring, so that I could swim between ships, passing information about drug runs, or to council members or some of these men that are puppeting the world out in the middle of the ocean. at very strategic locations where then I will.
Puppeting the world. Did you hear that? Do I need to go on? Yeah, I get the gist of what she's saying here, right? I'm just trying to provide more substantiating documentation. Now let's go here. Finally, and then after this, I'm gonna wrap it on up. I knew that that's what ran Mace to the pulpit. Look at this. Mace finally reveals where he witnessed that Diddy parties turn to God. Why? Because he knew it was spiritually motivated. Jay exposes what he saw at Will's house. At Diddy's house. Shocking new Diddy party footage gets revealed. A very famous celebrity did what? Full Diddy 50th birthday party footage. I'm sure there's going to be look at that mayor of New York who just got locked up right here. He just got arrested. The mayor of New York and the police chief. There he is right there at the party. Okay, so I'm not able to find that video when I search this anymore, right? So I'm going to go. I shared it on Facebook. Let me go to my Facebook real quick because I got a link where I shared it from YouTube. I can click on that link and go back to it. I'm almost there. You know what? Even if I don't, here we go. So how about this? This one I'm going to do this. This one I'm going to do this. My apologies, y'all. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go, y'all. Now,
services because Riverside County, do you hear me? Riverside County Child Protective Services was involved in my trafficking. Can y'all?
Now, what did my last video just say? What did that lady just say, Bryce Taylor, and the FBI agent who went up on that podium before her say about the government being involved in this?
Still hearing me? Can you just, cool. Thank you. So, I know.
On a live stream, so I just skipped that part where she's just saying, can everybody hear her on the different live streaming platforms?
Ever thought that we would see the day where Diddy would get arrested? And I told you guys in that Maria Z interview in 2021 that no one tells on Diddy. P. Diddy. All right? Just the same way nobody tells on Denzel Washington. People don't usually.
Hold on. This was a clip that I shared. Let's go right here. Watch full video.
We tried to do a case against Riverside County Child Protective Services because Riverside County with projects all around, because we just said, you know what, this is our life. It's not changing. We stopped somewhere and I've been hiding. My mom and I have been hiding. We've had our head down. We tried to back up. We even tried to tell you everything that we can. And now we have people messaging us, investigators, people that want to talk now, when now it's because it's trending. We're still not on the subject of the kids. All the adults are covering their asses. All the adults are, I left at a certain time, yet you knew children were there. You knew these parties were not okay.
First of all, let's give a shout out to this lady on the left, Melanie King, because this is her content that I'm using, and I want to give credit where credit is due. This is not something that I uncovered, but I got this from being a subscriber to her platform. Shout out to Melanie.
Okay. They weren't freak-offs. They were satanic ritual orgies. Get it straight. It wasn't just adults in these parties. The adults were responsible for the child that were in the party. And one of those children were me. Now, those who are trying to come at us now, talking like, oh, well, now the Diddy's out, now that you can talk. For why? Because we tried to have a case with Child Protective Services. We gave them 8 months worth of evidence. 8 months worth of evidence. That didn't even do a crumb. They took that case and they hid it. If you are a survivor and if you are a real victim, be careful, because these hotline numbers that they're putting out, I don't trust them. I wouldn't do it.
They take your information to see what you have.
They're taking inventory.
And then they shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking.
So her mother is she's on the phone with her mother as well during this live. So that's who's speaking.
Taking inventory. So don't trust them. Don't trust the feds. Don't trust the judges. Fuck all y'all. You're all guilty. You're all corrupt. Any attorney that's taking money to defend Diddy, you're nasty and vile.
That's blood money.
That's blood money.
That's all blood money. You do know that, right? Whether you take money for him to shut up, whether you take money from him for period, that's blood money. I don't want anybody's money. Not even Lassane. And let me make something very clear. Even though it runs in my family, you can't fake your death. That shit is expensive. We don't have that money. We don't have the military involvement. We are not working with white hats. We are working with everyday people who can come out and do something when they can, who can come out and say, I can be security when I can, who can come and cover us when they can. But that's not all the time. Right now, we by ourselves.
This is the car insurance trick big companies don't want you to know about. Over 90% of what you pay for car insurance is based on who you...
We could call on some angels. Yes. These are everyday people. They're not white hats. Get it straight. There's no witness protection program because how well is the Secret Service doing protecting your former president? They not even doing their damn job. Even the photographer can get the shot, and including the people that can get the shot. Let's be real. Don't do the Lassane bullshit. Don't do that either. You want to know why? Because that all circles back to the military. That all circles back to fake arrest. That all circles back to lies. And not everybody can fake their death. Even though some of y'all are sitting pretty, trying to make the excuse of, oh, well, they were so evil. I was just trying to be undercover. No, bullshit. My face is out there. You little punk. My face is out there. You pussy. No, and
Is she talking about other victims trying to fake their death? Wow. Yeah, everybody don't have the heart that you got.
And I see a lot of you people out there like, oh, they faked their death and they're gonna come back.
No.
That's bullshit.
No.
Joan Rivers, you were up there partying with Michelle Manshell. Lassane, you were doing some dirty, vile shit. All of you. So any of these people that they're gonna try to revive and prop up, bullshit.
No.
Bullshit.
You see all the people running? They're ducking and hiding because everybody knows that there was children there. But we're still not talking about the kids yet. When are we going to talk about the kids? Everybody's demanding something from the victims. Why aren't you demanding it from the news? You know he's about to turn into another Epstein, and then the list follows, and it circles back into a web. So why isn't anybody demanding any information on the kids? Huh?
Where'd that supply chain come from?
Do you think that thousands of bottles worth of baby oil was for thousands of who? $65,000 worth of hot dogs and pizza was for who? Trafficking over the border was for who?
Not listened to her before. This is my first time. I like to kind of like give a a live reaction, but she mentioned pizza and hot dogs.
Thank you.
I mentioned that to you guys that I want
Thanks, Don. I appreciate it, Queen.
to get into pizza and the hot dog and chicken, and if you know what those terms mean. And I have seen so many traffic victims who were children who confirm these terms that are used in these types of things.
Child Protective Services is your supplier. Is anybody going to talk about that? The immigrants that are coming across the border, that all those kids that they were just scooping up out of boats and out of the water, they're now coming in and they're throwing them right into the system. Aurora, Colorado, Spring.
We spoke about immigration earlier in this broadcast. That was one of the things that popped up in the feed when I was, during the morning scroll while I was going down looking for stories to cover, right? Now, she's making it correlate and relate in a whole nother facet as far as why all the immigrants.
Springfield, Ohio. Where do you think all those kids are going?
Think about there's been thousands of illegal immigrant children that have been lost by the system. They don't know where they are. And think about it. They don't really have anyone looking out for them or questioning, and they're not, publicly documented. So they can go into the system and disappear. And you never see, no one is the wiser. And I have heard about child protection services doing this type of stuff,
So in a situation like that, no one even knows they exist. On paper, they don't even really exist in the United States. They don't have an identity that can be traced.
It's kind of like a rumor, but more people are now saying that they are involved.
This ain't about an election anymore. Y'all know that, right? The election is canceled. Because everybody that you love, you don't live in the world you think you do. Everybody that you think is not guilty is about to show you who they really are. I've been screaming for years. So now, if you see me over here trying to live a normal life and tying up loose ends as justice, mind your fucking business. Or don't. Or don't.
Let me go further ahead in the video.
Our PTSD lives on every damn. No, that can't be true. No, he can't be having satanic rituals. No, there's no way. Yeah, there is. And now you see. So now what you gonna do about it? Still, here we are with everybody. I want evidence. I want evidence. You got it. Now what you gonna do?
Those parties involve children. The media is making it sound
They
like
don't
it was
just involve
adults.
children. They involve animals. The adults who are swearing up and down, I left at 1 o'clock in the morning.
You shouldn't have been there in the first place.
You
You're
shouldn't have been there.
disgusting.
And on top of that, if you knew,
They're swearing she left at 1 in the morning. See, there's a party before the party, right? And a lot of people have said that. I've been to Diddy parties and never seen any of that. What are you talking about? Just because y'all didn't stay. Y'all wasn't in that upper echelon of the people who are elite or high up enough to where they've earned your trust. You're not part of those secret orders and those circles. That's why you didn't get to see all that, right? But they're saying that she left at 1, right? Because they know that after that, that's when all of this stuff allegedly took place. It all adds up. Ain't nobody lying on you.
that there were children coming in after a certain hour, why the hell didn't you say anything until right now?
Howard.
All these people, I knew he was crazy, so you guilty. I told you everybody guilty. You're guilty. Get that shit straight. I don't care who it is that's saying, I left at 1 o'clock in the morning. Because why? Because why? You covered your ass.
Denzel, you a damn liar. Lecrae, you a damn liar.
Lecrae, the so-called Christian rapper. Okay, so they're not saying that she left at 1. Okay, those are the people saying that they weren't there, that they left at 1. Ooh-wee. A scandal. Share this, please share this.
And now we're gonna delete like tweets like that's gonna help anybody?
Like Usher just did.
No, we cannot run to another country. No, we cannot fake our own death. No, there's nothing we can do but continue to keep on kicking. And at this point, you better make sure.
It is absolutely shocking. You know, the man Donald J. Harris, who's supposed to be Kamala Harris's father, well, according to birth and death records, that man died when he was 2. So who is the man that's supposed to be her father today? The picture that Kamala Harris has in her book when she's about in her 20s and she's standing with an older Black woman in Jamaica. She says that on the caption of the photo, this is my grandmother Beryl in Jamaica. Well, according to records, Beryl died 4 years before Kamala Harris was born. So who is this woman you took a picture with in your 20s and says that this is your Black grandmother? Well, come to find out, evidence is showing that she has pictures with the help, her family's help, that she's trying to play off as her family members. And that Beryl was never even her grandmother. We actually found, I mean, guys, when I tell you the rabbit hole is deep on that, that is an investigation you are going to want to stay tuned for because it is growing. The Washington Post is now investigating that. And Candace Owens has today on her podcast, is going to have a family member from Jamaica who is now speaking out about this whole situation. So again, guys, listen, wherever the controversy goes, I'm going to follow it. I don't care where it goes. We have to get to the bottom to a lot of these lies and these things that have been going on. And that looks like when I tell you it's crazy, it's crazy. It's between Diddy and all these other things. It's just insane. So if you could subscribe to my channel and check out those videos, I would be grateful. Now, we're going to get into what she has to say here, but take a look at this first. Like I said, she's been speaking out.
Eddie Griffith just talked about early in the broadcast when I showed a clip of his stuff. He just talked about that. Kamala, he called her. Yeah, he just went in on her and that same story about this fake grandmama story.
out for years.
Look at the names on this affidavit of truth that girl submitted, that girl who I just showed. I had to go back earlier in the video because I had went past the part where she gave the details from the party. But here we go. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Pay very close attention. And this may or may not blow your mind. It didn't blow mine because I already knew this, right? But the fact that we actually have some receipts.
I'm just becoming aware of her, but this is an affidavit that she's put out just bits and pieces, so we don't have the whole thing. It's just kind of broken up into just small segments that she actually did. But this is if you have young ones around or anything like that, they need to be gone, and just prepare yourself. There's some really sick stuff that is in this and things that she has to say. So we're going to read this and then we'll get back to her video. So her affidavit of truth, she lists 4 people at the beginning of this. Brian Christopher Williams, aka Birdman, aka Baby. For some of you guys don't follow hip hop, he is a huge hip hop mogul. He owns a record company. There have been rumors for years of how he has groomed boys, specifically in the industry, in the rap industry. Lil Wayne, that's again, everything is a rabbit trail. That's a whole nother thing that needs to be discussed. Denzel Washington Jr. So not Denzel, but Denzel Washington Jr., which is crazy because I was just going to do a video on how Denzel was at a Diddy party back in the earlier 2000s, and he and his wife, and he got into a screaming match with Diddy and was outraged at what was happening. And actually him and his wife left until that. And since that time, he has not wanted to be around Diddy. So, but it looks like his son, according to this, allegedly,
Denzel Hayes Washington Jr. Now, in the video, the lady says Denzel, giving the impression just from hearing that they're talking about the man we all know from the movies, right? Now, she's saying his son because it says Junior. Is Denzel himself the actor? Is he a junior? Because she didn't say Denzel Washington's son.
Has been involved in some very dark and disturbing things. Then she lists Sean Love Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P Diddy, aka the Diddler Diddy. And then Giselle Amon Robinson, aka Young Jock. Young Jock is also a rapper. I believe he hosts a radio show in Atlanta and has been on reality shows recently. So here we go. The Playboy Mansion after party held in Simi Valley on or around 2009, 2010 while I was in foster care. I, Allison Leilani Carter, previously known as, and she puts it a blanket and outlaw, attest under oath the following account of my and all my altered parts, personal experiences to be true and accurate to the best of my knowledge regarding the Playboy Mansion party attended by Birdman, Denzel, Diddy, and Young Jock. My date of birth is February 15th, 1994, and this party was on or around. And then it's going to skip to the next part. Let me just say this really quickly. This woman has dissociative identity disorder. This is previously known as multiple personality disorder. Does not mean she is crazy. This is something that forms in children who have experienced extreme, and I mean very.
It used to be called identity personality disorder. Now it's called disruptive identity or something. Disruptive identity disorder or display. Oh, she just said it. Hold on. What word was key? Hold on.
Woman has dissociative identity disorder. This is
dissociative. They want to disassociate with the trauma. Like I said earlier, it's a mechanism, a defense mechanism of the brain to protect themselves from the memories and the reality.
Previously known as multiple personality disorder. Does not mean she is crazy. This is something that forms in children who have experienced extreme, and I mean very extreme trauma. And it is I don't want to get into all of what it is, but it is a coping mechanism that some children have in order to create other personalities to take themselves out of what is happening. The trauma is so bad, the brain starts to split into different personalities. One, maybe is a protector. One is, a mom figure, another. And this is the brain. This is the way the brain helps to try to protect the child. And it is something that is, these people are not crazy. They are just very much victimized and this is their coping mechanism to get through all of that. So here we go. At this party, there were body cakes, which means that the kids would lie on the table and people would put food on them, and the party goers would eat off the unclothed kids. There were a lot of celebrities at this party. Once everyone was searched and inside, the DJ sounded the music and the lights flashed, signaling that everyone was in and the doors were closed. This signal that the orgy could begin. The kids that had been brought at the party were bought to be party favors. So this is another part. Again, this is jumping around. It's just a few like snippets of the different pages. Favors mean that the kids are literally set on a table and had to wait for people to come and choose them for relations. Once they were done having relations, the kids were placed back on the party favor table and someone else could come and pick them out from the table and repeat the process. I had to have relations with so many people that night. I cannot remember them all. And some of the other altars hold those memories. Altars are her other personalities. That's what they're called, altars. Party goers went into a sexual frenzy, orgy mindset once the DJ started the music and turned on the flashing lights. There were
Those are the flashing lights that I made reference to earlier in the video when I was talking about this video and how I might show it. Same thing that the other lady said about the flashing lights.
fetishes happening everywhere, and they kind of separated them into areas where specific fetishes were happening. For instance, the fetish of having relations in red body fluid was in one area, while having relations with four-legged creatures was in another area. People were just in a crazed and I'll just say actual frenzy. When the music started, I was sitting on the party favor table. The main room was big, like a ballroom. There were outlying doors around the edges of the room. Some of the doors were shut, but you could still see the food on the relations table, the party favor table, and many other things. There were different types of actual parties happening in different areas of the house. I had to sit on the party favor table and wait to be chosen. The way someone would choose a gift bag off of a table at a birthday party. Two guys took me off the table and they brought me, and we get to the next part. He also wore a gold chain. He was complaining that he did an hour set, meaning a musical set. He was on stage performing.
It wasn't a musical set. If y'all look at the top of the little piece of this page right here, if you look at the top of it, hold on. It says, and was part of the Kings of Comedy. He also wore a gold chain. He was complaining. He was something. It don't say complaining. He was, then you cut the word off. Oh, complaining that he did an hour set, but there was no one to fuck backstage. This comedian, okay, she's finna go into that. Okay, he was on the Kings of Comedy. She said, the girl who she's reading the affidavit from, who I just had in the video, I went further along in the video here. See, down here, that girl right there, that's in the bottom right-hand corner. She said that Steve Harvey was there. We know Bernie Mac was deceased by 2009, 2010.
For an hour, but there was no one to F backstage. This comedian, Cat Williams, spoke on that. This comedian broke the no back door.
Who else was on the Kings of Comedy? Sid, Bernie, Sid, DL, and Steve. Okay, I don't know about Sid. That's the homeboy from St. Louis. However, I do know that in a recent interview where Brother Umar went after Steve Harvey, Steve made a response and regarding his support for Kamala Harris, right? Steve made a response and he said, see, me, DL, and Ricky Smiley, he said they control radio. He said we control that. And he said we cues. Why is that significant? That is a fraternity, right? Now, if you've been covering, or if you know anything about the Boule, which is a free world fraternity, the first black fraternity in the United States of America, formed in 1904, 2 years before the Alphas, then you know that they recruit from the Greek. Remember what I said about the Greeks earlier? They recruit from these Greek fraternities in these universities our best and brightest. Right? So it's not a coincidence that those guys will be part of fraternal order and later be set as the gatekeepers for radio, and which is pretty much what he was saying in the nutshell, implicated. I don't know if he knew he was saying too much, but he said enough.
Rule and had backdoor with me and Coconut. This comedian broke the no backdoor rule and had backdoor with me and me anyway and just laughed. I screamed for my handler pimp. Everyone was laughing and I ended up getting in trouble. This is when I was then told to have relations on the table with the girl who was my age. They then brought in donkeys and burros, and we had to have relations with them. There were several girls that had to have relations with four-legged creatures while everyone watched. Another girl and I ended up throwing up afterward, and they rubbed our faces in each other's vomit as punishment.
What's wrong with these burger buns? They taste perfect.
Enough said. I'll be back. Comment, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when I posted a new video, so that way you can get a message whenever I'm going live. Like I said before, don't just share it on your wall. Send it in Messenger to the people who you care about, the people you had these conversations with, the people who don't know, the people who you feel like need to know to protect them. Right? This is bigger than Diddy. This is bigger than music. This is bigger than sex. Shalom, Israel. Thanks for tuning in. Pack Lawton, Morning Scroll. Peace.